want a play-by-play. You want all the replays of the games that you missed this week. Well, you're in luck 'cause now there's a new girl in town bringing you all the news in sports. She's our woman in motion. She's bringing you all the games. She's causing a commotion 'cause no man can ever claim. She's got grace, she's got style, so just stay for a while and watch the girl next door, 'cause she's our woman in motion. She's bringing you all things sports today. Today, a woman in motion.
Since our last video, there has been a lot of drama going on in both college and the NFL. We've had multiple coaches fired. We have had player incidents that are very controversial, and I think it's important that we talk about those. So, starting off with the Maryland coach getting fired, and then just a couple weeks later, we had Sarkisian get fired. Now, with Sarkisian, there was the fact that they were losing, and it came out that he had a substance abuse issue. Now, the problem that lies here is apparently there was evidence that he had this problem back at UW, and it was never brought to the surface when he went to USC. Now, he was a Pete Carroll protege, which, that puts him way high up on the list. So maybe it was overlooked, or maybe it just didn't come out because he hid the skeleton very well. The problem here is, why was he just now accused and fired for this if it had been known and there had been evidence for so long? Now, I'm not saying that this is the case, but it seems very evident that because the Trojans were not playing well, that it was perfect time and perfect excuse to let Sarkisian go. He is also supposedly taking measures into his own hands and going to rehab. Now, whether or not he did that on his own will or he was told to do it is a whole different story. There were past players who have said he has an issue. They had seen him at parties and out in public. There had actually been a few times where he had gone to bars on a travel day. This is a business day. You don't go and party on a trip of business. I just don't think that's acceptable at all. And there have been multiple receipts and transactions found of him buying tons of alcohol, and some even list the exact kind of drinks he was drinking, and one of them was all before noon. So I want to know what the NCAA is going to do about it. I want to know how it was overlooked, why it was overlooked, and why it was just now brought up. I think everyone now deserves to know, and I think those players deserve to know more than anybody else. I heard someone say the other day, well, those players should be able to null and void their letters of intent, and they should be able to leave without redshirting and all this stuff. I don't think that's the case. It's something that's out of your control. You chose to go to that school for a reason, and I think you should stay through it as a player, as a teammate, and as someone that the fans really look forward to seeing every single week play. You don't want to continue the disappointment to those fans. They put their heart and soul into those teams, and you should be doing the same thing. And if you're not, that's sending the total wrong message to fans. It's giving them false hope and saying that they're really not believing in anything. Now, another thing that came out was the Louisville case of the dancers and escorts. First of all, I'd like to say the stuff that's happening right now, it's not new stuff. It's not unheard of. Just not every school has it posted or come out. Some are better at hiding it. Some are better at keeping it very, very quiet. But, so, with Louisville, the original escort had written a book about it a couple years ago, and why it was never brought to anyone's attention and nothing was done about it then, I'm not quite sure, especially if there's someone coming out straight up saying that she has documents of everything. And I'm sure people are going to say, well, she's just in it for the money, blah, blah, blah. Her whole job is money. She doesn't need any more. So, the worst part about this is that it was recruits and their parents and current teammates and some of the staff. Where in any recruit's mind are they going to think that that's not out of the norm? If they see the current teammates doing it, they're sure as hell going to do it too, because they are going to think, oh, well, this is normal, and I really, really want to go to this school to get a good name for myself and move on to the NBA, so they're just going to do whatever they're told to do and whatever is put in front of them. And not to be sexist, but they're boys. And and the same goes for girls. If a good-looking person is put in front of you and said, pick one, what do you think they're going to do? So I think it's going to be interesting to see who they determine is still at fault for this and how it all happened, and if the people who came out about it are going to be charged or accused of anything, or they're not, just because they're the ones who unwrapped the whole story. Okay, and now, so Greg Hardy, we've seen some stuff from him in the past with his domestic violence case. He was suspended, I believe, for 4 games for this case. He had thrown his then-girlfriend onto a bed full of assault rifles and banged her head against the wall after dragging her into the bathroom, and banged her head against the wall continuous times. He got a 4-game suspension, and then he came back from that suspension still talking about how he votes for pro ball players based on how hot their wives are so he can look at them. He also said something along the lines of, I respect Tom Brady because he has a hot wife and I like to look at her. With that, Jerry Jones backed him on that and said, well, yeah, Gisele Bundchen's still good to look at. First of all, this is before any of this stuff happened on Sunday. Who in their right mind backs something like that? That's making your team and your organization look worse and worse and worse. It's hard enough. I live in Redskins and Ravens zone, so I know the Redskins fans already have fuel to that fire, and the Cowboys are adding more and more and more just by backing him after they know when he was in Carolina that he had the domestic violence issue, and then not saying or doing anything about his whole temper tantrum that he threw on Sunday. I'm sorry, if you go and you slap that board out of your coach's hand, that's your coach, that's your elder. That's your person that you're supposed to respect and listen to, whether you agree with them or not. No matter what play just happened, you listen to them and you do what you're told, or don't do anything. Go sit down on the bench, refuse to play, do anything but start to get freaking crazy. And then everyone knows when Dez Bryant starts being the voice of reason, it's totally out of control. He's had his own issues with hitting his mother, but I just can't believe that he's the one who is trying to calm the whole situation down. And then Jerry Jones saying that, oh, well, Hardy is just showing leadership. What kind of leadership is that? Now, the team's going to think it's okay to throw fits, like 5-year-olds. The fans are going to think it's okay to just start getting crazy whenever. If the fans even still keep supporting this, they'll be lucky if they still have as many fans as they do, whether they're America's team or not, because that is just not behavior. At least for parents who are watching that, I doubt they really want their children to see that. They don't want their children getting the idea, okay, well, I can stomp on whoever I want to and I can get my way. My big issue with this is that no one has any intentions at all of giving him any sort of punishment. It's still part of that whole mentality that he's in the NFL, he makes all this money, he is an amazing player. He is a great player, and he's come into the season very well. But it's that sense of entitlement that is just getting worse and worse and worse with people in this generation. So Roger Goodell really should be doing something about it, but the person who should be doing even more about it is Jerry Jones. He sees that action. He needs to be the actual leader that he's supposed to be and take action and stop this craziness that Greg Hardy thinks is okay. So, even at this point, he should not be able to come back into the NFL. After his domestic violence issue, he should not be able to come back into the NFL. Same with anyone who has gone through any sort of domestic violence accusations. Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, none of them should have been able to come back. That's drawing the line. It's not teaching anyone anything. And I don't know if these people understand that they have so many kids, even teenagers and college students looking up to them. They want to be them. And the way that they're acting is not putting a good name for anyone out there. It's making you look like a bigger idiot. So I'm interested to see how this story develops and if anything actually comes of it. And I really hope, for the sake of the NFL and their dignity, that something happens, because this is just terrible. Thanks for listening. I know it was probably a little different than what you expected this week, but next week we'll get back on track with all the games. Thanks for listening.